The movie was amazing. That's all you need to know. No.
I might actually keep that. But seriously, so if you just walked out of Dune and you've never read the book and you're wondering what the heck did you watch, is there somebody out there who could explain to you what exactly happened on screen and why is Timothée Chalamet always has the perfect hair? Well, you're here for the right reasons, for the right review, because we just watched Dune and I have read the book and I'm here to explain everything that happened in the movie that you might have missed. Coming up now, what?
It might take as long as the movie, though, I gotta warn you.
Hey everybody, welcome to Geekdom Movies. We just walked out of the 60s pre-Star Wars, original sci-fi, outer space, new technology, old clothing movie called Dune. And
That's great.
George and Fahad have a lot to say about it, so we're excited. George has not read the book. Fahad has read the book.
Many times.
I have never read the book. And I am your host today. My name is Shannon. This is Fahad. This is George. Let's get this review on the road.
Of course, I'm going to cut this review off a little bit because we had some technical difficulties when me, George, and Shannon did the review like a week ago. And because of that, I'm going to keep Shannon's review and questions in that you guys had for her. And then I'll come back to that. So Shannon's review is still here. Shannon's questions are still answered. But for now, we're just going to start here. George, how did you enjoy Dune, sir?
I tried to watch the 1984 film. I was not successful in that. It was too long, too boring. There was a scene that made me cringe so bad I stopped it. It was, essentially the head of, not House Atreides, the other house.
Harkins.
The head of Harkins. It's like he was moving across the room on a chair. It took up like a full minute or two for him to get across this room. And that at that point in the movie, I was like, yes, this is not close to the technology that we have currently. I can't watch any more of this. So basically that was about it for that movie for me. Mm-hmm. I was excited. I had played like a, I don't know, it was like an online game or something that, had kind of given me an idea of what Dune was. A little bit, very vague. But I knew about, I knew about the worms, about the, basically that, essentially there was this thing called spice that was the most valuable thing on the planet, and that was the reason why there was anybody on the planet. But beyond that, I didn't know a whole lot besides that, this character was supposed to essentially be like the messiah of these people, and that, he had come from a noble house. That was pretty much all I knew. So going into this movie and watching it, and like as you said, when the first trailer dropped for this movie, I looked at Fahad and I'm just like, are you serious? And then like as the trailer continued, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll give this the benefit of the doubt. It's got to be better than whatever they made before. Mm-hmm. So I got a little bit excited about it. So watching this movie, it was absolutely amazing. Now, I know I haven't read the books, but I was able to notice they were pointing out like a lot of very subtle things in this movie that were really phenomenal. I'm not going into spoilers at all, but just they had very pointed shots at subtleties to it that fit into a part of the story that was just phenomenal. I can't say I've really seen that in very many films. So overall, this movie, it might seem like it's slow, but at the same time, it's because it's based off, as you were saying earlier, it's based off the book. And so because of that, they're trying to make sure that it's a full story. And it really is a full story. You're not going to notice that, this is just, you you don't essentially have like just action scenes to have action scenes. I mean, this is not a Fast and Furious movie. Okay, this is very much a very deep movie.
When actions happens, it has a point. That's the best way to describe it.
Absolutely.
It's not done for entertainment or for big budget explosions. It's done for a place and a story that they're trying to tell with the essence of what's taking place and to have that budget to tell that story with the action. It's still a very character-driven story. Even when there's action, it's still very much on the character of what's happening to the characters.
Absolutely.
I don't think I've ever seen a movie like that from a point of view where the action is happening, but it's so focused on the characters that you're not that interested in the action. You're more interested to see what happened to that character. I think like that in itself, I don't think movies are made enough to do things like that. Sorry, I just going off a little bit of what you were saying. It got me thinking.
That pretty much summed up my non-spoiler. This movie, in and of itself, it might not seem interesting, but there's more to come, and it will definitely be worth it.
So I guess non-spoiler. I'll go into the negatives part of it as to why I was just like I'll just get into the negatives of it because I mean there was a lot of good, but even a silver lining has like a deep dark sad cloud in the middle of it. So we're gonna get to that. My thing with this, and I think it could have been a little bit shorter, is but you really brought it into perspective about the landscape. It's like, yeah, you're right. That is like making it all encompassing. Like now you're getting an idea of how grand, how big this desert and how this world is and how like desolate and also just how grand and how beautiful it actually is too with its scarcity. And that's really where you can find beauty in the scarcity like that. But I will say, I could have done with less landscape shots. I did doze off for a second because it was just like one part of the movie was like 2 minutes of just landscape shots and everything, kind of like The Revenant, in that there's a lot of landscape shots,
I see what you're saying.
a lot of face acting,
and
a lot of stuff like that. Because to be honest, Dune did not have like a lot of dialogue in it. There was enough dialogue, but it wasn't like filled. Like they didn't fill the empty spaces of the movie with like this dialogue that doesn't matter. What I will say is I could have done less of that, but really I could have done less of were the visions of Zendaya. Like
I agree with that part.
Like how many times did we have to see her? It was like we know she's in it. It was like every 2 minutes. It's like, okay, I get it. Like he's gonna eventually befriend her or fall in love with. I don't know how it's all gonna work, but either way, like I get it. We get it. Zendaya's in this. Like,
right.
We could have done probably 3 or 4 less visions of her.
Probably
and
3
done
scenes would have been enough. Yeah.
Or more if you're gonna include that many visions, why not do more visions of like the future of the battles or seeing parts of part 2?
They did show that one scene at the very end. But I think that also is like, how do you keep the mystery of, how do you show enough but not too much of what happens in the future? I think there's a hard balance that I even would be like, well, if we show too much, people aren't going to be that excited to see how it happens. We just need to show enough. And I think them just showing that there's victory that happens on the desert planet in this army and the victory that happens on his home planet eventually is enough to make you go, oh, that's interesting. Like he does become kind of like this leader, this person of like high weapon and like this messiah, but who can fight and conquer and win, but not enough where it kind of takes away the mystery of it all.
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard balance to have. Some people might have really enjoyed the, like, you're like, oh, you're showing Zendaya, she must be important, how do you get there? And they like that she comes on screen. Some people have said they do because of that reason. You're like, how does she meet, like, how do they meet and what happens,
I was gonna say it was probably Tom Holland that said that he liked that.
Probably was. He probably had some input there. He was like, "Hey, more Zendaya, like more. I need more cowbell." Like he's just like he was that guy. He was like, "I need more cowbell. I need more Zendaya."
I'm still laughing at the because Tom Holland and Timothy Chalamet are so similar. Like he was like Timothy Chalamet was number 2 for Spider-Man. They couldn't pick between Tom Holland or Timothy Chalamet.
I'm glad they did not do Timothy Chalamet as Spider-Man. Tom Holland makes a lot more sense. No offense.
Oh, for sure. But
Timothy
you can
Chalamet's acting chops. Once again, I've said that many times before. He is a good actor, but not in a Spider-Man Marvel kind of role. He is very much an art house type of actor, not a big blockbuster action.
He's basically
actor.
He's more of an Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest.
Yeah, that's why Andrew Garfield didn't do well as Spider-Man either.
Exactly.
Really?
Like they didn't.
I think a lot. I know there are fans of Andrew Garfield.
I enjoyed the movies, but he didn't. Once again, he didn't really fit the physique of Spider-Man, and
he was
I feel
skinny,
like
though,
that's the
what
problem.
Peter Parker's supposed to be.
Well, yes,
he was a little too skinny. Like Tom Holland, he's believable because he does all those stunts,
right.
you know? So, like, it's a lot more believable with him doing those stunts than somebody who's just, skin and bones like Timothy Chalamet.
But in the book, Timothy Chalamet looks exactly like how I saw him in the book. He's supposed to be skinny. He's not supposed to really look like a fighter. When somebody thinks he's a messiah, it's like...
Yeah. So you're saying he fits Dune, which I agree
100%.
with.
Yeah.
I agree with. I just don't
100%
think he would fit as Spider-Man.
Yeah. Like, I mean, in the book, all people do, like, when they meet him, it's like, I can see the prophecy and why it could be you, but really? like, it's
even
that...
Zenday's character...
Like, you look like a boy.
Yeah, and Zenday's character thought he was just gonna die, and this is, like, towards the end of the movie, he has to fight Tomas, who, like, challenges him, and in order to become a part of the tribe, you have to kill somebody one for one. Because
that's one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
Because in the book, they don't do this enough in the movie, but in the book, he's kind of like seeing the visions of that guy. Like, he's supposed to be his mentor or teacher. And then when he finally shows up and meets him, he's like, I'll fight you to the death. You're like reading back. What? What did you just say? Like,
yeah.
Is this the same person? You're like, why are you killing your mentor teacher that you're getting visions of? But I think that's his defiance to his mother, who basically taught him how to live that life, like, and have those powers, and then suddenly have to face the Reverend Mother, who was basically there to kill him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that's the thing. The most crazy thing is a lot of his reasons as to why he doesn't want to walk through the steps of that is like his mother almost got him killed and like just stood by. He might not have passed that test. I mean, you saw her behind the doors crying, but during the scene, you're like, wait, you knew she was coming to murder your son and yet you decided to do it? Now, there can be a little back and forth in that, just in the sense that maybe she kind of knew that he was the Messiah, the chosen one, so she did everything in her power to make it so that, like, she does teach him. But at the same time, from his point of view, you're like, yeah, but you could have, like, if you would have told me this woman was coming to basically test me or kill me, I'm like, no, thank you. I'm going to go follow my dad and learn how to rule and do politics or something, you know what I'm saying? And, like, and then the next scene right after, you're watching everyone that he knows and loves died, and him and his mother had visions of it, and yet, like, his mother kind of, sort of stood by, and, like, knew it was coming, it was going to happen, that they were going on this planet to basically die. And even the Reverend Mother is like, I hope you survive, human. She kind of feels bad for him. It's like, okay, I didn't kill you. You're actually kind of shocking me with the level of, like, something that I didn't think a male could do, or somebody, like, you actually really shocked me. Because at the end of the day, the test she puts him through is one of the hardest tests that anybody has ever gone through in that test. Nobody has gone that much pain. Like, in the book, his hand literally feels like his bones are being ripped off and the skin is being ripped apart, and yet he continues to keep his hand in there.
I think that was one of the reasons why, like, they had all those shots as well, with him using that hand to feel everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
because
specifically.
Because he was feeling with that.
Before the fight, he had his left hand up on the rock, and he's just, I'm like, oh, so good eye there, George.
And also, like, as he was right before he left the planet, you'd mentioned this to me earlier, that basically, like, he he was like he cupped the water and everything.
Oh
And
yeah,
that was with that hand.
Oh, okay.
You know, and then also, if I recall, the hand in his visions that was burnt, that was his hand.
Oh yeah. That's
So,
right.
yeah.
There's a
very
lot.
interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's very strange. What he decides to do to get back at his mom. He's like, screw these visions. I'm gonna fight this guy and kill him. Which honestly was the best move on his part. How do you get somebody to basically in this like weird tribe where nobody trusts you? You take out the best fighter. That really is.
And he didn't want to kill him at first. Like
He did not.
Yeah.
He wanted to fight him, and he wanted to fight the vision and make his own path. But at the same time, he also needed to get the trust of this tribe, and
Yes.
and he knew that he was slowly starting to accept the prophecy that he is supposed to be this person. Because when his mom says there has to be a way for you to get us off this planet, and he's like, no, I know where my path goes, and it's exactly what my father said, which is we need desert power. And he accepts it, and his mom's just kind of like, well, okay, I guess we're doing this. That fat Harkin guy, he is one of the
Baron,
most
yeah.
the Baron. He is one of the most despicable characters in the book. I mean, they didn't show it in the movie because I think it's just too dark and it would push the rated R limit. No, he's a really dark character, and every woman basically knows that in 365 days, your time is coming where you're going to be tortured and killed for the king. The Baron, basically.
Dave Bautista, he doesn't have like a ton of screen time,
Which is actually perfect because in the book, Dave Bautista's character, all he cares about is getting the approval of his uncle. So
Okay.
he'll do anything and everything
Yeah, that's
to
true.
get his uncle to basically accept him and appreciate him and tell him he did a good job, basically.
Yeah. So the Baron character really, really great. Those scenes are really great. The change of the betrayal was really well done. You could comment what you want about the change in that. I personally was like, okay, that's cool. They changed that. I kind of expected something along the line to be changed at some point. So I could see them doing that for budgetary reasons.
Yeah.
As well. And I do want to say the acting with the Baron was like excellently done. The guy that played Dr. Eric Selvig in the Marvel movies, he plays the Baron in this movie, and he does an excellent job.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could hear his voice, but I couldn't recognize him because that makeup was so.
It was good.
Good,
Finally, the CGI and everything finally lined up, and it caught up.
I don't think that
to
was
the
CGI. I
time.
think they actually used the prosthetics on him.
Yeah, they did an excellent job with that, and that is something that 1984 version just didn't have the shooting, didn't quite have the makeup, didn't quite have the technology to kind of shoot it right.
Basically. No, it's a really good movie. And the last thing I just want to talk about before we move on is, of course, the thing that's coming as here comes another white savior. I mean, I get the like issue because Dances with Wolves, white savior, Avatar, white savior. Not Avatar: The Last Airbender. Sorry, Avatar: The Blue People movie.
Yeah.
The Blue People movie. That's just what I'm gonna call it because it's the only way I know how to distinct it. I get what you're trying to say, but listen, here's the thing. This book was written in 1960, and he's not white savior. He is. I'm letting go of my culture and everything I know to become part of these people and give them power. There's a little bit of.
I thought that was kind of what Avatar did.
Avatar did that, yeah, I would say so.
Oh.
I just mean Dance with. I get the issue. Like, why are you making this person white savior when you could just take somebody from their culture and they just save their own people? And why does it have to be a white person? I like Tom Cruise in Last Samurai. I get what they're trying to say, but for me, don't do that with today's movie, maybe, but do it. But if for a book that was written in the 1960s of people didn't even know or think that way back then. It was like more than 50 years ago or close to 50 years ago. No, more than 50 years ago.
Yeah,
I don't know why I was questioning myself. It's not relevant, guys. Like, this is just a book that has been a national, like, one of the most read books, like most really good books, and it's finally being adapted on screen. I want this story on screen. I think most people agree the story is worth finally getting made and finally getting its due that it's never been given since the 1984 movie. Just just leave it off there and forget everything else, and just if you're gonna complain, I'm just gonna guess you've never read the book, nor do you care, and you're just complaining for the sake of complaining about whatever you want to complain about. That's just how I feel about it.
That says what it is.
Anyways, that was our review. Please check out Shannon's. We do have Shannon's input, which I'll show. We did originally shoot with Shannon and George, I doing the Exit Theta review, but because of technical difficulties, we didn't release. But I did save Shannon's part. So here's Shannon's review, and we'll see you guys next time for our next review. Take care, guys. So for me personally, one of the reasons Dune is such a hard movie to adapt, I've read the book constantly for like, I can't even remember. It's the most I think Dune for me is the most reread book because I just pick up so much every time I reread it. It's about money. It's about like
Can you give us
prophecy. It's about politics. It's about oil in the Middle East and like these religious tribes who live in the Middle East, but it's done in a sci-fi way, and they're all Muslim. Even in the movie and the book, they're all just Muslims. Yeah. There's a boy who's like the Messiah, who's like the Jesus coming, but instead of Christians waiting, it's the Muslims or these tribes waiting for the Messiah, and the Messiah is supposed to be an outworld person, somebody that's not from their planet, who comes, who's noble-esque, and doesn't look like them, but knows everything about them. He just sees dreams and visions and prophecies and knows everything about them. That he is a Messiah that is coming to save their people from the horrible empire that exists, that wants to basically keep them like imprisoned on their own planet. There's just so much of this book and this movie that I really didn't think was possible to even make a movie like this, because it's too much. It's so dense. There's just so much metaphors and symbolism, and there's just politics and different fractions and other families trying to kill other families to take this planet over. Oh my God, there's just always so much going on. And that's why I think the movie we were just talking about from the 1980s was just so terrible, because they didn't even try. They didn't even try to adapt it. They just called it Dune, and they're like, let's make Star Wars. And that's not how you do Dune. You do Dune like this. You make it... I mean, thank you. Like, I didn't know going into this movie, I was really afraid they weren't going to cover a lot of stuff, but they actually split the first book into half. We're not even halfway into the first book when this movie ended, which is absolutely fantastic. Like, I think all of us who have read the book, who've been waiting for this movie, this is it. This is as epic, as perfect as you can get. And my God, Timothée Chalamet completely embodies a role of this kid who doesn't know where his place is in the universe. He doesn't know if he wants to be king and take over for his dad, and yet he's learning about his mom's legacy, who's a witch. And it's so fascinating, and how great the actress. She's in Mission Impossible. That's how I remember her. She plays like the spy in Mission Impossible, the last two movies, and she was in the movie we saw, the sequel to The Shining, and she was the bad character. She was the...
No way.
Yeah, way.
Oh, she was in Dr. Sleep?
Dr. Sleep, yeah. She was the one who was trying to kill the girl.
That did not look like her at all.
No,
I mean, she's a phenomenal actress. She really, I think
she is.
She is completely the heart of this movie. My God, like that scene, like everybody knows that famous scene where the witches council comes to them and they want to kill the son, and the son is he's not supposed to have their abilities, the witch. The mom is the first one to break out of that, and not only does she break out of that, in the womb the witches can prevent, like they can force change the sex in their bodies to make it into a woman and not man. Yes, you're
totally missed that.
Well, you're supposed to. This is things that slowly get revealed in the book. We're not at the end of it, but I'm just trying to really explain why his life was in danger and why she was like hyperventilating, because these people, these witches, they have so much power. They even control they work in the shadows. They're like a shadowy government that even they manipulate the government, because anything they say, like, they can control you. It's like the Force, like the Jedis. And the fact that she felt to not only be with somebody who is a king, but she also chose to be the first person in thousands of years to allow her child to be a man, a boy, a male is so, like, for that society and what's going on in the book, that doesn't happen. So she trusted, like, you got a lot of like Jesus stuff going on here where like, you know, it's so dense and it's so much and it's so good and it's so epic. And if you've never read the book and you watch this movie again, I'm telling you, you're gonna pick up so much more in this movie, even from the first time you watched it. You're supposed to watch I really believe you're supposed to watch this movie, be confused, learn what's going on, and then rewatch it, and I swear you'll pick up way more stuff. This is a movie that probably for me is gonna be the end game when it comes to like 2021. I'm sorry, like I'm really excited for Spider-Man. I'm really excited for Eternals. I'm still really excited for
The Matrix movie's coming out.
the Matrix movie, and the Batman trailer looks flawless. I'm sure Robert Pattinson is just gonna kill it. But this for me, this is gonna be. I said this at the beginning of 2021. Either they're gonna get it right, and it's gonna be one of the greatest movies ever made, adapted from a book, or they're just gonna screw it up, and it's just gonna be terrible. There is no middle ground for Dune, and I'm telling you guys, they have nailed it. And it's so perfect that like they split the book up. If we got 3 hours, and I don't think we even hit halfway into the book. I have to reread it. I'm not sure, but he hasn't even become the famous Muad'Dib. So Muad'Dib means Messiah in their culture. All the people of the sand and the desert, they'll chant his name, Muad'Dib. Because like that's supposed to basically be the essence of Messiah. They have accepted him into their culture, and they have now foretold the prophecy to happen. Everything that he sees in his dreams is about visions for his own life and for his people, because the desert people become his people. It's we're not even there yet. At the end of the book, that's when he actually meets the Freeman, and he has to go through the challenge of even being accepted. And you see like the situation in his heart and how he's like dealing with the fact that his father died. He's lost his family. Everyone he knows and loves are probably dead, and now he has to walk the path of the Messiah into becoming the hero that saves these people. His mom's like, we got to get off this planet, and he's like, no, I can see my prophecy, I can see my vision. He's finally accepting it, and he's saying, this is our home now. And the thing that almost made me cry, but nobody will see unless you've read the book, is he takes the water in the beginning of his movie and he holds it in his hands and cups it just to show that he'll never see water again. He watches the sunset over the hills, over the ocean, because he knows this is it. This is the last time he'll see it. He picks up the grass and he holds it in his hand, and he knows this is the last time he'll ever hold grass in his hands. And there's just so much going on. It's so deep. Oh my God. Like, there was halfway through this movie, I think I was just crying, because I was like, they did it, man. They freaking did it. They nailed it. I cannot believe how good this is. And oh my gosh, I can keep talking, but I feel like I'm just gonna spoil more stuff. But really, guys, like, go see it for yourself. Experience it, rewatch it. There's so much metaphors and symbolism and things that are happening. It's a very smart movie. It's a very intelligent film. It's not Star Wars. It's not boom boom bang bang action and explosions. There is that does happen, but the meat of this story is like this grand epic story that foretells of this universe, this galaxy, and all the different planets. And it's like Game of Thrones. Every family wants to take over the planet. The planet houses the spice, and the spice must flow, as you know if you read the book, because the only way for a ship to fly from one end of the galaxy to the other is spice. That's the only reason they can do it. The spice is the only way these ships work. So everybody wants to own the planet of spice, right? Like, that is, if you live on that planet and you become king of it, somebody's always going to be out there trying to kill you and trying to take it from you, because that's how you become the richest like tribe in the galaxy, the richest family in the galaxy, the richest planet or culture in the galaxy. All of that rests on this spice, and the people that live there, they see the worms and they see the spice as like a metaphor for religion, for spirituality, not for like to have power and like just use it for gas so you can fly a ship across planets and galaxies, but really for it's like the Force in Star Wars, right? There's just this, it's more, they're just not getting it. Every single person that comes to take over the planet, to take the spice, all they care about is ships. But as you learned from Timothy Chalamet's character, the spice is actually a spiritual awakening that's supposed to happen. And they don't care about that. All they care about is money. All they care about is politics and how they can be number one. I'll stop talking because there's just so much to talk about. That's why I wanted to go last, because this movie and this story is so good.
Yeah, just as a side note, I'll add that I have not read the books. I don't know anything about this movie. I definitely was completely lost on the plot. I was lost in what was happening. I really don't understand what was going on. And I didn't think it was going to end when it did, because like nothing had even happened yet. So I didn't realize that there was like a whole other half of this book. So as you were saying, with you're supposed to be confused, you're supposed to go read the book and then come back to it. Yes, I don't think you're going to have the same experience with this movie if you haven't read the book or at least been familiar with the story before.
Yeah, so Dune is one of the most read stories. It's like the Harry Potter of its day. Like everybody and their mother like sat down and read all the Dune books. Actually, a lot of the things that Hogwarts does with the classes, like Slytherin, Ravenclaw, the different houses.
Yeah.
That's actually taken from Dune itself.
Okay, can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because you were saying that Star Wars was essentially a Dune knockoff.
Right. So, I think Dune is more like sci-fi with Game of Thrones rather than sci-fi with Star Wars. There's different houses, there's different factions. If you've seen Game of Thrones, everybody wants the throne, right? Everybody wants to sit on that throne.
Yeah.
And families and different like political parties and kings will fight and start war just to sit on the seat. And the seat is the planet Arrakis. Of Dune, right? So that is where you want to be, because if you control the spice and you control the planet, then you make the most money. So everybody else, every other planet, every other society probably makes, let's say for example, billions of dollars. But if you can be the one that sits on the throne of spice, you'll make trillions of dollars, right? That is, and it's a metaphor also to the fact that it is one of the most harshest, most ugliest, most driest, and the deadliest planet in the galaxy. But this is where you have to be to rule the galaxy. This is it. And if you sit on that throne on the planet of Arrakis and you rule it, then you basically get to rule the galaxy for your future generations, your future family members to rule and have money and power for thousands of years. So that's why everybody wants that seat on the planet. It is the most rich environment. It is the most powerful environment. And if you can control the spice and you can, and his dad actually says this, we're going to do things differently. We're not just here for the spice, but we're here to work with the people on this planet and actually have a relationship. And I really enjoyed that they got that right.
That was hilarious.
Oh, because he spits on the...
Oh my god, that whole scene was just hilarious. The reactions and everything, it was great.
It's like, thank you for, what does he say?
Sharing your bodily
fluids or something like that. And
Shannon
then like...
was giving the gift of your moisture.
Right,
from your
because
body.
you gotta remember, every single person that's a tribe, when you become part of the tribe, if George dies and he's part of our tribe, we get all of his liquid. Because there's no water.
That's so gross.
Well, they have a process to take the water out of you.
So gross.
Well, when you live on a planet with no
gotta
ocean,
do what you gotta do.
Him
Gotta do what you
spitting
gotta
was a
do.
gift.
To waste water like that, yeah, it's a gift.
Okay.
I mean, these people have learned the skills of maintaining and not becoming extinct on a planet.
Gotcha.
That is, well, first of all, you can't even walk on the planet because there's giant worms that create the spice that are going to come and swallow you whole. And
the entire time, anytime I saw one of those sandworms, I just kept thinking about that SpongeBob episode.
Which one?
The SpongeBob episode where they're like, we're going in the cave and we're scared of worms and we can't find any worms. And then like, in this whole episode, they're inside a cave and then at the end they realize they're inside the worm.
Oh, really? I don't think I've seen that episode, but that's funny.
It's hysterical. It was like the funniest thing I'd ever seen when I was 10.
Oh, well, off that note, Empire Strikes Back, if you've seen the Star Wars movie, and the Millennium Falcon is in the asteroid, I think it's a cave, but it's really a giant worm. Yeah. I think, and then, like, Harrison Ford's like, you gotta get out of here, this is no cave. And he flies out, it's like a giant worm.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like a lot of people rip off, like, Dune, for obvious reasons, because it's so epic and amazing story, and it's so rich. And but yeah, like I've seen, I know what you mean.
And from Beetlejuice, the musical, I was like, the scenery is fake here. There's a giant snake here. This whole time, that's what's playing in my head as I'm watching all these sand monsters.
You're not wrong.
I'm not.
I mean, there's just so much. There's just so, and Timothée Chalamet, I think he really killed that role. I mean, I totally believed him from the moment he left this planet. Learned his father died. Now he's like part of this like witch culture that his mom has been hiding this entire story. Like I was like, wow, you're just like walked into a trap. She's like, put your hand in the thing and I have this needle. If you refuse the pain, then I kill you with the needle. His mom's known that his whole life and never told him. And he learned the moment it happened. If I was like him, I'd be like, Mom, F you. Like, you know, like, what the crap? Why would you not tell me this? And I think even in the book, she's like, if I told you this, then you would have refused the training. Well, yes, because the witches are psychopaths, and I don't want them to put a needle to my neck and try to kill me if I don't go past their stupid test. Thankfully, he did, but I'm just saying, if I was a kid and my mom told me that, I'd be like, no thank you, I'm out. I'll go play with my toys and go follow Daddy over there. Yeah, they're just, I mean, like, you bought it. You bought his entire journey. He's House of Two Families that he's realizing. Sure, he thinks he's like, you know, his dad's son, but at the same time, his mom is one of the highest authority in the shadowy government of these witches. You saw, like, the head of the witch. He was with the house that invades the planet. Mm-hmm. And like when she was like, you can do whatever you want, you can kill everyone, you can take over, you can't kill Chill and his son and the family, and he made that promise, and he's like, and then when she leaves, he's like, well, I don't have to kill them, I just have to leave them in the desert, and the desert will do its job. Again, he doesn't believe in prophecies and spiritualism and these witches and their powers and things like that, so he doesn't really think much of it. He's like, if I just drop them off in the desert, they'll die, and that solves that issue. And as you learn, like, no, that's when he grows the most. He's lost his dad, but now he's learning the terrain. He's walking the planet, this desert. He's learning from all the memories you saw of him seeing is Jason Momoa's. So he knew.
Wait, he's seen Jason Momoa's memories?
Yep.
Was Jason Momoa his dad?
No. He was just his friend.
Able to see other people's memories too, because remember he saw conversations with the guy that he ended up killing.
Yep, that was Jason Momoa having a conversation with him, Jason, and not him himself, but he was reliving. That's how he knew where to go and how to go around. Like, he just naturally just knew their culture and people.
Why does he keep seeing Zendaya?
Okay,
Zendaya.
So that's she's a key part of the story because that'll be brought up in the next movie.
Oh, yeah, you don't even know her name yet.
No, I know her name.
Yeah,
you do.
And he actually said her name.
Yeah.
Right by the end. I don't remember what it was, but. Okay.
So if you break it down like this, he goes up to Jason Momoa's character at the very beginning of the movie and he said, I saw you die in my dream. I don't want you to go take me with you. And Jason Momoa's character is like, you want me to be court-martialed? No, I'm not taking you to the planet. You're getting there in like a month or so, and then we'll reconnect then. But since that vision started for him and that he passed the test with the witches, his like level of the power that he carries with him just like shot up like crazy. He's always had the dream of Zendaya, even when he was a baby and a child. He's always had dreams of her, but he doesn't want to be called out for being a weirdo who's dreaming about this random girl on this planet who everybody kind of treats as bad people.
Okay.
And like animalistic, and they're tribal. They don't they don't live like other people. They don't have houses and technology. They live in the desert. Yeah, like, you're not gonna go up and tell people you're having dreams of this girl on this planet. You'd be like considered a weirdo. It might be racism, maybe it's sexism, and maybe it's all of it. I don't know. But he kept that to himself. And the only time the only person, because his mom's like, "Are you having dreams?" And he's like, "No." But she knows, but she doesn't know what he's dreaming. And the only time Timothée Chalamet actually tells the truth that about the dreams that he's having is the witch who did the test for her. It's like, "Tell me about your dreams." "I see this girl in my dreams." "Is this something that started now?" "No, it's always been with me." And that's a really powerful statement, because it's showing that even though his mom hid the truth from him, he also hid the truth from her. So there's a little bit of duality, like they're not being honest. But this woman who comes in and just knows everything and knows the terrain of like what's going on with him, his mom, everything else, because she's really that high up. And she says that, "I really hope you live, human." What she's really saying when she says that before she leaves is, like, the test you're gonna go through, I'm not sure you're gonna make it, because I've seen all your visions, and like, I already know they're about to invade, and you're about to go to that planet thinking you're gonna rule it, but your dad's about to die, and you might die, and everybody that you know and love are about to die. But like, I'm not really sure this is gonna work out.
Yeah.
So she also feels sympathy, even though she wants to kill him because he's a boy, and that boy should not have those powers because of what happened thousands of years ago when men did have that power. The witches have, and they did not use it well. The women are able to kind of be in the background in that society. They can slowly, like, you know, like his mom is a concubine. She's a prostitute. The king,
not quite a prostitute. There's a difference between a concubine and a prostitute. So basically, a prostitute is someone who receives payment to be with someone, right?
Right.
A concubine is basically an unmarried mate, essentially. And so basically that's kind of like the situation with his father and her was, and that's why his father at one point was like, "I really wish I had married you." You know? It was because he realized that, you know, they had a family, despite the fact that they weren't actually married and they were just, you know, basically sleeping together.
Because there's just so much to talk about.
Basically, the whole movie is a spoiler.
Yeah, basically, you're right. Shannon, do you have any more questions? I like your questions.
How come this movie only has one color and the entire movie is beige?
Well,
That's Dune.
That's Dune.
The entire movie
the planet
is,
Arcadis.
The entire movie has zero color in it.
Well, it's a desert.
What about the gray, stormy planet?
Gray is one of the colors. It's gray and beige.
Well, you know, the stormy planet is the planet of the house. They're just
Exactly.
really messed up. They believe
Absolutely.
that they like, if you saw them, they were killing their own people, draining the blood. Yeah, we didn't see the Emperor in this movie, did we?
He sent the Emperor's army.
We know about the house that was trying to take over, but we never met the Emperor. But I guess
Correct.
Emperor made the decree to basically allow them to invade and kill them, but you never saw it.
Yeah.
Which is very fascinating.
Yeah, because basically, I don't know if you noticed, but the people from the house of I don't
Arcades or whatever.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
But basically from that house, they were all wearing black.
Right.
The Emperor soldiers were
wearing white, grayish white. Yeah.
With 3 red stripes. Almost like at the very end of the movie, when he's over there having the duel with that one guy.
Yeah.
That one warrior. He ended up. He kind of came to the realization, due to the fact that, like, he, in his dreams, he had been stabbed. He had, you know, like, been
so he
killed.
had 2 visions. Yes.
Well, he had multiple visions. He had ones where he was killed by her. He had the one right before the fight where he was killed by him. And then at that point, that's when he realized what they meant by basically, like,
he can control
almost like an exchange, like a life for life kind of thing.
Right.
And so that's why he realized he had to kill that guy to actually start his journey as their Messiah.
Yeah, because I mean, in that culture, you can't just join a tribe. You have to get another. You got to get rid of. It's kind of dark, but it's but you got to do. There's limited food. There's limited water, and there's like you can't. It's like somebody's got to sit down, and
the fact he did that with obviously one of their more renowned warriors was to them like wow, like this guy he has the possibilities to be it.
Yeah, and the thing they didn't show in the movie, which I got, was the reason he knew his moves is because Jason Momoa had to fight him. And Jason Momoa won. Because he said, I almost died. They have one of the fiercest warriors.
You're right. Oh my god.
So that's why he was very confident and know what he was doing, because he was kind of... His relationship with Jason Momoa's character was so strong that he was able to see his vision so clearly. He knew where the caves were. He knew where he needed to go to get to the Freeman's culture, because Jason Momoa had already done it. So he was literally just following. He wasn't even... They gave him a compass that he never really uses. He just knows with vision where Jason Momoa walked in that planet.
And he's like, I think this is the right way.
Yeah. And
as he's looking at the compass.
He's like, and when he says like, send, well, he's right. His mom defeats the leader, who's Javier Bardem's character. And he's kind of like, okay, like, I guess I lost, you won. But the other guy's like, yeah, not only did you lose, you lost to a woman. You know what that means? I'm taking my chance to be the leader of this tribe. But Timothée Chalamet's like, yeah, no, like, that's not gonna happen today, because he needs Javier Bardem's character really more, even though Jason Momoa actually was friends with that guy that he killed. Which is really weird for him to be like, you were friends with my friend, but now I have to kill you because of all the things you taught him how to do. And now I know it. Now I know how to kill you. And
that was one of the reasons why he had that like really emotional look when he walked back up to Zendaya's character.
Right.
Was because he just killed somebody he didn't want to have to kill him, but it was the only way.
The only way to become part of the tribe, yeah, because him and his mom can't. I mean, like, if they were leaving off the planet, he'd been like, whatever, I don't care. But he knew that the prophecy says that he's supposed to leave. He sees the vision when he's fighting in the desert and his mask comes off and his eyes are blue, and he's like, he sees the vision not only of them defeating the Empire's army on the planet, but it's also his home planet. He saw him and Zendaya standing on top of the ship watching his home planet winning both. So he knew if he really wants to go home, he has to win on this planet with these people, because my dad said we need the desert strength. We don't need military power. We don't need like lots of money to rule. What we need is desert power. Speaking of things that were taught, I had emails specifically for you guys that were asked about the movie. So George... No, actually, I'll have Shannon go first, because you've talked a lot. Let's give Shannon a chance. All right. Shannon, what did your overall feeling was the action watchable?
Okay, so that's a really good question. I was going to point this out and I forgot. When they have the red and the blue shields pop up around them.
Oh yeah, that was kind of cool, wasn't it?
To make it really obvious who was winning and who was
losing the
action.
Yeah.
I wish every movie would do that. It made it so much easier to follow, because I didn't have to sit there and try to figure out, okay, he just punched and now they're swirled and then they punched the other. It was obvious who was winning and who was losing.
There's more to the story.
Yeah?
So, in
Going
regards
off what
to...
she's saying?
Yes. So those shields, okay?
Yeah.
Those shields were designed to stop projectiles, okay? So that's the reason why they don't use guns. They're using... Swords.
Yeah.
Because a sword can move slow enough to pierce the shield, and that's why
it eventually breaks through it.
It has to be slow enough to break it, because otherwise, if you did it too fast, it would literally bounce off the shield.
Okay.
And that's
what happened to his dad.
That's shown in the duel. Yes, that's what happened to his dad. That happened to basically like the one thing to reach his dad. It had to keep going slowly,
piercing slowly to his back.
Slowly, yes.
And then it kicked into the spine, right?
Yeah.
So they programmed the thing that killed his dad was this thing that was slowly breaking through the shield, and it was like,
Oh, yeah.
and then when it hit, it took out his dad's spine.
I
So
saw
now he
that.
got like Christopher Reeve from like
Yeah, he was
Superman.
paralyzed.
Right?
Okay.
And then like the guy who betrayed them was like, I betrayed them, but I'm only just trying to get my wife. He says this, the
Yeah.
Asian guy. He's like, I'm only doing this because I'm trying to save my wife. So I betrayed you not because I want to. I betrayed you because I don't
have
want
to.
I
Yeah.
have to. And he's like, but don't worry. My second plan was to give you this tooth and put it inside of you. And if you use it really well, which was really fucking smart.
That was
because
amazing.
It's too prideful not to be sitting in the same room with him before he kills him. No
Oh,
way.
absolutely.
You don't kill a king like in the middle of it. No, you bring him to your table in dinner, look him in the eye, and say, "I took your house." So he
Yeah.
was like, "This guy's obviously going to do this." So he's like, "If you time this right, you will have your last breath. But not only will you take your last breath, you could basically take him out as well," which was like so well thought out. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Are they in a zero gravity environment?
No. By no
It's
means.
outer space, so
No.
is it different
Nope.
than Earth's
It's
atmosphere?
not outer space.
they were on the planet the whole time."
Yeah.
Which, okay,
The
planet's
desert
in
planet.
outer space. But so they're in gravity atmosphere.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I wanted.
Oh my gosh! So your question was, because people know you're an engineer, what did you think of the ship designs, like the dragonflies and things
That
like
was
that?
interesting.
They were incredibly interesting. I mean, obviously they're not going to be.
Thank you, Brandon, for that question, because that's what you asked me. So I'm asking it so you don't yell at me later. I'm asking George what he thought of the dragonfly ships that you really wanted to know. So what did you think of the dragonfly ship design? Whatever. it
So
was?
I thought those were kind of interesting. They reminded me a little bit of the design of, I think they were called the Scorpions in Avatar, a little bit.
Oh,
Basically, same,
I didn't-
close
I
to the
thought
same
Avatar
body,
as
but
well.
like different wings, I guess you could say.
okay.
But the
They
wings
still-
were flapping up and down. That would do nothing.
They still had like hovering abilities, kind of like helicopters, which
Yeah.
was kind of interesting.
It was like a mix between helicopter and an airplane. Like it can hover, but it can also
They also
Fly.
basically had like a booster of sorts that it could use to just
But
propel it.
but you saw Timothy Chalamet go into the dust storm, and then he suddenly like all the information he just like got downloaded real quickly because he was watching other memories. He's like, oh, that's why I'm in this ship. When you're in the storm, you don't use the gliders. You close them down and you let the storm kind of.
But that wasn't anything anybody had done. That was something he just did.
But he knew that
knew
it would work because
he knew
of the
it
planet.
would work, but nobody else had done that. He was in a
I see.
sandstorm
Okay.
that anybody else would have died in.
Explains why he's
So-
the chosen one.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't. And basically, somehow he knew to time it just right to basically shoot them out of the
Out of the
sandstorm.
storm and then go above the
Yeah.
storm and then slowly crash to the floor.
Yes.
Which he didn't do perfectly because the
he
dragon
lost some
yeah.
of the stabilizer.
Yeah,
things.
yeah. I really also just enjoyed how they do the tank because the tank's too heavy. So they have these like artificial design for like the balloons. So when you take the spice and you fill it, it has to float up above the ground, and then you take it back to fill up the spice on these like to fill up the spice. But they're too heavy to fly. You have to come in.
Oh,
I
interesting.
wish I hadn't thought of this because it almost seems like a failed plot point, but why didn't they just use one of the thumpers?
They told you.
They could have shut everything down on that skid and used one of the thumpers and diverted it.
Wait, what do you
And
mean
I'm
use one of the
like,
thumpers?
Oh
How?
gosh, it's so sad. When they lose that one,
Tank?
yeah,
Thumper is the thing that it goes doosh, doosh. You
Yeah.
can't do that. It doesn't work. It has to be only human. So thumpers are made only to be used on land with tribal, like the tribe does it, to make the sandworm go away. So somebody will be on the other side of the tribe who will notice the storm coming with their binoculars, and if the family of tribes or like the tribal people are there, the thumper's job is to make the worm turn around. But a tank can't do that because they're doing so much vibrations and like things on the ground.
but they shut it down. They had already shut that down.
Well, he knew where they were. It only works if they also they also want to be near the spice, the worms, and they were gathering the spice. Also, like the worm knew. He was like thumper there or a giant vibration. Like think about it. Like you heard a beep on the left, but then you heard like a on the right, and you were like trying to find the biggest noise. Would you go towards the beep or the? You'd probably be like, I'm gonna go that way. That's probably what the worm does. They're not idiots. The worms are actually really smart themselves. They know enough to know like where, like, you know, like a whale, right? Like if you're a whale and you're following the what's that frequency
called?
Whale
Riders? No. What the hell was with that scene?
So the tribe has learned how to basically not only understand, they'll explain it in the next part of the book, but as Timothy Chalamet's character goes further and further into the tribe, he realizes they're not just avoiding the worms, they're also working with the worms. When they say in the movie, we only thought there was like thousands of tribal members, but there's millions of these. Well, how are they able to make these taverns? Well, they follow the worm, and the worm can go to a certain place underground that makes it a cavern where you can live, but underneath the sand, and they can actually build entire communities.
What I meant to get back to in regards to the like those dragonfly ships. So the only way I think that would be possible, there's a few different issues. There isn't really any way to stabilize the back end of it, so that would cause a lot of instability with the way those wings were. Yeah. And then also like it would have to, for those wings to actually work, the wings themselves would have to be like rotating each.
Isn't that what they were doing?
I couldn't quite tell.
I thought that's what they were doing, actually, but I could be wrong.
It looked like they were simply flapping.
Because that's what my friend Brendan said. They look like they're actually doing how the dragonflies fly in the movie.
I'm going to have to watch it again to like really double check that.
I did notice that. The wings are going up and down, which does nothing on an airplane.
Oh.
Does not help.
Well, the thing is they were going up and down, but I didn't know
Were they like rolling though?
I think they might have been, and if they were, then that would
explain.
That would make it more possible.
Okay.
I mean, it still wouldn't help with the stabilization and weight distribution.
Yeah.
But it would definitely make it a little bit closer to possible. It did look like they had based off like the design when they were showing like close-ups of those like wings right by the craft itself. It did look like they had joints on them to do that, so I hope that's what they showed.
I mean,
I gotta watch again.
Yeah, I mean, it does look like it's too big of a movie to mess up that badly. Somebody has to be there, like as an engineer, is like, no, you can't do that.
They definitely put some thought into it.
Yeah, like sure. Even the shield, like how they did that design and what that shield does. I've seen shield in Star Trek, Star Wars, but they don't really show like real, like how the mechanics of a shield would work. But in this movie, the way the shield is, they can only block so much, and then you can, like you were saying, like a gun won't go through the shield, but a blade slowly can cut through enough to get through the shield. All that stuff, like even how they dropped bombs on the base, they had shield, but it did the same thing that it did
it had to slow down through the shield
and then cut through, and then boom. And I was just like, wow, that's like really smart. The last question's for Shannon, but I think we can all answer this, but since it was for Shannon, was Timothy Chalamet believable of a kid who's slowly becoming the Messiah?
Oh yeah, he did a great job.
Did you think his acting was believable, and did you feel the emotions that he was portraying on screen of somebody who's lost everything? Yeah,
I mean, I loved him in Little Woman, and I think he had a lot more to do there and a lot more to express and more dynamic performance. And this performance, the character's a little more flat, a little bit more serious, but if that's how he is in the book, if that's what the character is. In the first half of the book he is. In the later half he becomes a leader. Okay. And that takes like time for him to kind of, he hasn't fully accepted the Messiah position and leader position yet.
right now he's in the my mom lied to me and my dad's dead. And I'm having these visions and prophecies. Oh, I'm not having allergic reaction to spice. It's actually something else internally that's happening when I breathe in spice. I mean, he's kind of more just confused, I feel like, than anything else.
Yeah, I thought he was probably the actor that drew my eye the most, other than Zendaya, but she really doesn't have a lot to say in this first movie.
Right.
So yeah, he did a great job. Really enjoyed his performance. He's been so good in everything. I can't wait to see him in French Dispatch.
Final thoughts before we close off this review.
I'm having them. No.
You're having a what?
I said I'm having them.
I'm
I'm
having
just
them?
thinking about them.
Having what?
Final thoughts.
Oh, I'm having. Are you excited to see part 2?
Oh, yes.
Not really.
Oh, come on. It's a good movie. It's definitely not a bad movie.
It's not a bad movie, but am I excited to see part 2? Not in particular. I'm excited to see what you guys think
If
of
you
part
know,
2.
Yeah.
if you do some digging on the story, you might.
I think
Yeah,
I
think
can.
so.
I think this is one of those movies that I can easily say it'll get better if you watch it again.
Yeah, I agree. I think it
There's
will.
just too much. It's
I'm gonna
too
watch it on HBO.
But do
Max,
I have the
'cause-
time or the energy?
Well, the good thing about watching it on your own
No, I do
is
not.
what I've done with movies that are long is I'll watch like half an hour, 45 minutes, pause it, come back a week later, come back 2 weeks
movies
later.
are better that way.
Yeah, you don't, when you're in a theater, you're like, okay, I gotta get through it. But when you're at home, it's one of the reasons I'm kind of glad it's on HBO. Because I wanted my first viewing to be in the glorious IMAX, I want Dolby. You know what? They're about to upgrade Dolby, and I might have to check that out once they upgrade it. They're adding some new screen like laser Dolby technology that they're adding in the next few months, they said. I don't know what laser does, but apparently it's a big deal. That's what they're saying.
It sounds cool.
I guess the picture and sound. I mean, the picture is a lot better with laser compared to digital.
You can't improve the sound. It was already so good.
I would say limit the sound because it's so loud in Dolby.
But it's so good. It's so crisp. It's so clear.
So fresh and so clean.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Hope you had fun. There's way more to talk about than we probably didn't even cover in this review. If you guys have more thoughts on this movie or things that you might have missed or didn't pick up on, I'm sure you do. As you guys know, you can email me, comment below. Thank you for making us 1,100 now subscribers in the last month or two. We're getting pretty close to getting more and more, and that's a big deal. We appreciate that. Shannon's back.
I'm back.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So that was our review of Dune. Come back next week,
Oh,
and
shoot.
we will be reviewing either The Eternals or French Dispatch.
French Dispatch.
French Dispatch, and then The Eternals.
Another
after
movie
that.
with Timothy Chalamet.
Chalamet. He's taking over
Dune
the world
Part
right
2,
now.
French
Oh,
Dispatch.
It's a Timothy Chalamet and also Saoirse Ronan and Bill Murray are all in.
Wait, so from Little Women,
Yes,
she's in.
and they're
No.
yes, she is.
God,
I'm
this
so
is the third
excited.
movie they've made together.
I know, they're
the first
so
was
good
Lady
together.
Bird.
I forgot about
now
Lady
it's
Bird.
Little Woman, and now it's French. Wow.
They are wonderful on screen together, and I can't wait to see them do a Wes Anderson
Interesting.
movie.